Griffin, we had a little breaking news today. About midday, was announced and confirmed officially. Pay-per-views moving forward will be available on HBO Max starting this Saturday, September 20th, with All Out. Not only was that announced by AEW today, there's also a time change of All Out. Uh, Originally going to be at 7 no, the 8 Eastern, 7 Central. They have now chosen to move the card itself to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start time and 2 p.m. Central, and then that'd be also noon on the West Coast. A lot of things going on. First off, how do you feel about the pay-per-views being available on Max for purchase? And how do you feel about AEW shifting the time of it All Out?
I think it's not a massive story in that it's still a purchase pay-per-view, so you're still spending extra $50 a month. But if you already have Max, HBO Max again, you do get the discount on there, so you do get to save a little bit of money that way. Your subscription cost kind of comes off that way. As far as the time, I would be irritated if I was a ticket holder and I worked a shift on a Saturday and expected, hey, I asked off early so I could be there by the evening show. To change that soon would be, I don't know that I would love that if I already had other plans that day. As a viewer, it's fine. As a guy who works retail, it doesn't matter. Everything gets watched on delay.
I'll say the positives first. I will say the one good thing about the time change situation and AEW or WWE's weird tactic to counter program when AEW just signed a fresh, like, brand new TV deal is still very silly to me. It's giving kind of like from a content creator perspective, it's giving us, like, as a website, a cool opportunity to kind of branch out. Obviously, we're kind of spreading the responsibilities. You and I are obviously doing the post Dynamite show for our audio listeners and our YouTube subscribers. This is the Wade Keller post show, but I am not Wade Keller, and Griffin is not Wade Keller either. So just wanted to give you FYI, Wade's taking the night off. But I just think it's cool that, like, I got to do a post show with Brendan LeClaire. Obviously, he and I never have gotten to interact before, and I'm sure, especially that Saturday, Wade will be asking for volunteers to help out with reports, post shows, recaps, all that kinds of stuff. So I will say, from a content creator perspective, that is really cool to kind of branch out and get to kind of interact a little bit more. You get to see new faces, new people behind mics writing. To me, that's really, really cool. But just in terms of, like, the time change, I understand it. I was almost kind of like willing for them to say, hey, just go. That you didn't decide to make this change. They wanted to. WWE wanted to do this big hoopla with ESPN, so let them just do it. Now, I wonder if this was kind of just a collaborative thing between AEW and HBO Max, especially since they want to roll this out, make it kind of seem special. Because obviously this will be their first kind of pay-per-view incarnation on the app itself. You and I kind of talked about in our pre-chat that we don't really think they're going to get the amount of people watching on the app that it would, like, cause any concern as far as technical things. But for anybody who's been, a subscriber on the app, I think just the app itself has done a phenomenal job streaming sports. I can't really, I'm just a dummy. I don't understand, like, how all the technical stuff works, but just as far as, like, how they've handled the NCAA men's tournament and how they've had all the cool features on how you can kind of keep the scoreboards and, like, track your bracket and stuff. I think that's been really, really cool. And obviously, we as the media content creators, we've been kind of bugging Tony and AEW, like, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? And it's finally, came out. Andrew Zaren was one of the first people to kind of make a note of this announcement was coming sooner than later, and now we're here. And
one of the things that I'm excited about is visually.
yes,
I think HBO Max, they stream in Dolby Vision. Their stuff looks great. It was massive going from watching Dynamite on a TBS or TNT app to watching on the HBO Max app, because it's streaming in, I don't know if I guess it streams in 4K if it's in Dolby Vision. So streaming in 4K versus 1080p, the colors are brighter, it's crisper, much more enjoyable. That's the thing that I never loved about, as much as I love supporting the smaller business, I love Triller, but it never looked great. Going back and watching shows on Triller, Amazon Prime. I don't watch enough on Amazon Prime to know how
I don't either.
live stuff streams, but I do know HBO Max is really a top-notch live streamer when it comes to video. If you're into having 4K TV, having digital, Dolby video playing, it looks great.
Yeah, like even kind of streaming a lot of like the basketball and NHL playoffs throughout the summer, start of summer. I never really had any problems. Especially if you've got like multiple TVs upstairs, it's a great little hack. Especially if you don't have multiple cable boxes. I honestly forget, Griffin, that they now have the pay-per-view catalog available.
Yeah.
It's just out of sight, out of mind. My summer's just been so chaotic. I just haven't had a time to really indulge. I would love to kind of have like.
They also don't advertise it and talk about it.
This is also true. Like that is like gold mine for, especially like if you want to bring in these a newer audience, especially if you want to take advantage of it. That is an excellent call. I don't find any issues like navigating anything on the HBO app, trying to get to the Dynamite Collision stuff.
Easy.
You would like you said, it would be nice for them to kind of banner that and champion that a little bit more, because that's a big deal. Just the fact that I don't have to freaking save these freaking huge pay-per-views on a DVR anymore. That's fantastic. Yeah. I still might, because I'm a sicko, but still.
Yeah. Well, and one of it is there's so much wrestling. So, when do we have time to watch old stuff when I can't
exactly
the WWE, AEW, GCW, ROH? Like, there's always something going on. But yeah, they don't advertise it. But why are you not doing best ofs? Why are you not creating like, here's the story of this character. One of the smartest things they did when they got on Netflix was they had character profiles, and they were 10, 12 minute. Who are these 10 key figures? You got 5 years plus of catalog content. You got all that ROH content. Why aren't they using it?
That's an excellent question, Griffin. I feel like Tony Khan's been asked that several times. Obviously, I think there's still this assumption, where AEW might shop RH at some point. But that was like the one thing I did actually really love about the WWE Network. They did like the best stuff all the time. And I
just
feel
best
like
matches of and they still do that on Peacock.
That. And it's funny because I feel like WWE kind of created the mold on how you should do that content for an app for wrestling, but even like nobody's duplicated that, because like I feel like trying to, especially if you're one of those people that try to go back and watch old stuff, like I've heard kind of doing that on Peacock's a huge pain in the ass.
TNA does some of that. They've got their TNA Plus. If you go to TNA's YouTube channel, one of the things that I watched was like the whole story of the Joker Sting, and they just all the clips, all the promos, key things from the matches, and why aren't you doing that? Like, why not do that with the Elite facing off? Why don't you have something about why it's important that the Young Bucks are on a team that's going to be opposite of Hangman and Adam Page Hangman and
Kenny Omega.
Kenny Omega, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, why you could have made so much a bigger deal about that, and a simple YouTube or Max video with who are the elites and what's their history here, and why is it important that they're in the ring?
Yeah, now AEW will dump, like, I know they did the entire history of Tony Storm and Mariah May. I think it was like 8 hours or something.
That was on there.
And they are kind of doing more kind of like WWE Vault stuff with like a lot of like dumping like great ROH matches, which is great. I mean, it's super, like, that's super cool. But like you said, I feel like there's a missed opportunity.
And dumped the whole pay-per-view there last week.
Yeah, I mean, which is weird because when I uploaded the ROH, I was expecting to like have to buy it, and then it just kept going, and I was just confused, and I just didn't realize. I was like, okay, if I had this ROH account and just didn't know I was paying for it, and lo and behold, because of the streaming issues on one provider that I wasn't familiar with, Tony Khan decided not to charge anybody, which I was like, cool, this is great. Really fun card.
It was, and I wouldn't have liked it otherwise. Like I didn't have. I happened to be. I was in Wade Land. I was at the Minnesota State Fair working, and when you're not working and you're there by yourself, you just sit in a hotel room. So I had 4 hours to kill, and there was an ROH pay-per-view for free, so I did watch. It was a great card.
Yeah, like flew by. I mean, ROH is on a nice little run. They had a great All-In weekend. Glad that's carried over. Bandito's doing a great job, kind of being the bearer of the brand. Obviously, Athena.
Yeah, I kind of understand that, but at the same time, what a deep roster they have, and Bandito is both tag champ and your world champ on a brand, you know.
But it's 2025, Griffin. Everybody's got to have multiple titles. It's a thing. Everyone is going to have a lot of titles.
There is going to be one more in the Colorado area, so we are planning to crown the Nerdstalgia Multiversal Champion in Colorado eventually. So
interesting. Have we had any feelers for Mercedes if she's interested?
I would be okay with her carrying my belt. Yes.
Yeah, I thought that
for Nerdstalgia.
You know, I thought we're jumping ahead a little bit, but the way Mercedes had the belts laid out on the ropes, that was cool. I thought that was really, really cute. That just another creative way for her to show off all the belts. Very cool. All right. Well, we are about 12 minutes in the show. This is the Wade Keller post show for AEW Dynamite. Thank you, everybody, for watching on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And for our audio listeners, thank you so much for hanging out with us and giving us a chance to recap AEW Dynamite. This was the third show from the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. I am Brian Zilem, contributor to PWTorch. I do the hit and misses column for AEW Collision Weekly, and I also do a weekly show with my co-host Amina Jenny. We are the Collision Cafe, where we recap Collision, AEW, and any other related wrestling news happening throughout the week. I'm joined this evening by Griffin. Griffin, I believe this is our second show we've ever done together.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because we did, I believe, a Collision show.
Yeah.
It was the
it was when they had the back-to-back Collision Dynamite Collision.
Yes.
We did during Collision.
Yes, we did. Easy breezy show. But let's do a little admin here real quick, and we'll start going through your comments and start really going through the show. If you ever want to get involved in the show, please email Wade at wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com, and that is wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com if you'd ever like to get involved in the show. If you are not already, please consider being a VIP member for PWTorch. You can view all details at pwtorch.com /GoVP. And sign up with a credit card, debit card, PayPal, Patreon, Spotify, or your Apple account. We'd really appreciate it. Dozens of archives, shows. Wade's got newsletters from, at the start of wrestling pretty much. So consider checking that out if you're not a subscriber already. The podcast feature, it's so convenient. It's so cool. It's easy breezy for the shows to pop up on my Apple feed. That's how I listen to everything. So we certainly appreciate everybody's support. And if you want to be part of the show, type your questions into the live chat and we'll discuss them live. We'll go ahead and dive in here before we get too caught up here, Griffin.
Let me go ahead and introduce myself too.
Yeah, go for it, Griffin.
Yeah. So Griffin, I've been contributing the last few months. Started doing a top 5 column weekly. That'll show up. So latest one was on Outsiders. So
very cool.
Paul Walter Hauser and Logan Paul both having big matches last weekend on different brands. Just talking about the top 5 outside celebrities. And this week, actually going to be writing on Real American Freestyle. Had a chance to watch that while I was in the hotel as well.
How was that?
Really enjoyed a lot about it. So I'll write up on that here in the next couple of days and get that in. So I think there is some big opportunity with it. I think the big thing that I like is they're setting up like a super fight, even though the execution on it could have been better between Chael Sonnen and Tito Ortiz. So when it's mat wrestling, like you don't have to worry about like people getting punched in the face. You don't have to worry about like all of the injuries and the what ifs that could happen when you're, 3 2-minute rounds on a wrestling mat that, we let elementary kids and younger roll around on. So I like the fact that you can maybe work up to legit matches that are competitive between 2 people like that. And it was a good card. And then I also am surrounded by my retail store too, Nerdstalgia. You can learn more at nerdstalgia.shop. We're in Colorado Springs. If you happen to be in Colorado, the first person that comes in and asks for this and says they heard about it, it is old school Wade Keller talking to Vince Russo, Ed Ferraro.
Hey!
I came across this when setting up the store, had
what
an
a plug.
copy. So if you come in, say you heard about Nerdstalgia on the PWTorch, that is yours if you're the first person to come in for it.
Let's go. Wade and Vince Russo. That sounds
so.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever seen. I would love to watch that.
There's a lot of bros.
I could only imagine. All right, let's get through these comments here, Griffin. So we'll start with Edward and Chad. I agree with smaller venues, but that gave me the feeling this was in the minor leagues. The simple optics don't pop at the 2300 arena to me. I think this because NXT's obviously ran this arena before. The NXT was a little bit more modernized, like it was more modern. I feel like at least AEW's tried to kind of like blend it pretty good, like with the kind of like the corner and kind of like
the 2025 version of an ECW pay-per-view.
Yeah,
like it was set
much
up as if ECW continued to run there. It does look a little minor league, but I think that's kind of on purpose and by design on these shows because it is nostalgia. It's the 2300 arena.
Right.
So I'm okay with it. I love them being in smaller arenas. I would rather have a sold out 2,000. I would rather have 2,000 people in a sold out arena than 3,000 people in a 10,000 person venue.
Yes, exactly. And that actually feeds into our next chat here from Derek. Thanks for tuning in and supporting Derek. And we are reading the live YouTube chats for our RDU listeners here. Derek says they will have to go to smaller arenas to the marquee. The fact that they can't fill a large NBA arena, to be frank, outside the bell-to-bell action, everything looks and feels second rate.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
That goes back to Paul Heyman and ECW. He used to purposefully run small arenas so that they fill up. He goes back to that Studio 54 New York City days when it was all about you wanted to be in the club that there was the longest line for. Right. It could be a small club, but it had a long line outside people wanted to get in there, and that
Mhm.
it's all about creating that buzz.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting to see. I think a lot of people will be intrigued to see like what the rating number is for this week for AEW, because I think they didn't do great last week, but it is so hard to identify these ratings just in wrestling now, and it everything's going to bottom out, especially with stuff ramping up. And you've got football almost on every day. You have basketball
And
season and NHL starting in a
Cable's
month.
the fact that we talk about viewerships. I mean, you can talk about trends, but my God, it's never going to be the Monday Night War again.
No,
I mean, people just don't watch TV like that. I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time I watched an episode of SmackDown, but I'll watch YouTube recaps on most
mm-hmm.
big parts every time, and that's still viewership.
Yeah, I mean, I watch pretty much all of AEW on Max, really.
Oh yeah,
And yeah, I just that is a great question. I'm trying to think, what have I stopped down and really just watched that's not sports? And that is
I cut the
tough.
cord 15 years ago. I haven't had cable in a really long time. I had to get I had to think outside the box when AEW was back on TBS and TNT and weren't on a streamer. But
See,
I still have in-laws with cable and a password. So
you know what? And that ultimately, DirecTV has always been good to us. So, and like yourself, you have to have somebody in the family with the TV login, and by proxy, that's me. But I feel like for what they charge me, it's reasonable. I've got,
and if you're a sports fan, I get it.
Yeah.
I watch predetermined sports.
Yeah. And then like you said, depending on what you're into, everything's feeding on into streaming, and it's just like you're almost better off just if you haven't cut the cable. It'll be interesting where we're at in the next year, if it's like if people are going to revert back, especially just with stuff being so expensive now.
They're cutting all the channels, man. Cartoon Network's going away.
And then the way that they're doing like the Fox, like because Fox and YouTube TV were having the dispute, so people were like, hey, you gotta go to the Fox Sports thing and you gotta buy that temporarily until we figure out everything. And then just the fact that I remember only about, it feels like 3 or 4 years ago, the NFL ticket was only about $300 on DirecTV, and now it's like 600. It's like $600 or $700, and I mean, I like football as much as the next guy, but I'm sorry, I'm not paying that ridiculous price to do football just for YouTube TV. I'm not. I'm good. So we got Decline here in the chat. For the fans, it's amazing, and myself, it doesn't bother me on television. They just broke the O2 record, and All Out will look great. No need to always be in bigger buildings. Yeah, I mean, I agree, Decline. I think Griffin and I kind of align the same, where we would rather have 2,000 to 3,000 rowdy people in a smaller venue than
makes you get your ticket.
Yeah, and
early. We had people. I had friends that couldn't get into AEW in Denver because they went and the show was sold out. People weren't used to a show being sold out.
And there you go. And they started. AEW started the residency in Texas, and I went to one of the first shows they did. It was a Collision, and had a great time. And I think in Arlington that it holds about anywhere from 800 to 900 people. And then we did the ROH show there. Went to ROH there again. A few months ago. It's like these people, and these are the people. These are going to be your hardcores, especially if you're going for ROH. I was just blown away on how much people were really into it. And like you said, I want to vibe with those people. I want to because they'll feed me stuff that I'm not privy to, and I'm just like, all right, let's go. Let's have a great time.
It's just not feasible for anything to sell out 6,000, 10,000 seat arena year round, town after town. I mean, WWE's on a hot run right now, but you got to remember that Ric Flair made his career on studio wrestling with less than 100 people in the crowd watching a wrestling ring. Like, it can be done and money can be made.
Yeah. And then, and to me, I'm wired differently. I think it's more convenient on everybody that works there, the talent that's less like in and out that you got to go everywhere. They obviously don't have to get up and set up everything, which is a huge pain in the ass that knowing they can just like leave the stuff there. That's so much easier. And and like you said, you keep it fresh, and then weekly, then after like that month and a half, they can start kind of moving around and going different places. And then, like you said, that if they keep doing this and people are kind of just bummed that they're sold out, then they'll have to come back again and
Yep.
actually make sure they're getting the show here. Let's see here, going through the chat before we get anything else. Let's see here. All right, let's see here. Fan blast here. Wrestling in general isn't going to get hotter the way it's produced across the board. Lack of vision, logic, importance it's too much programming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
agree with that.
I agree. Fan blast, like to me, less is more always.
Yeah. It's hard to make a lot of things in wrestling matter when there's so much going on.
Yes, agreed. Absolutely.
And that's kind of why I like the WWE method of 5 matches on a pay-per-view. Like make these 5 matches matter, and other things can pay off on TV. We've got all this television to worry about. So instead of cramming everything into a match card, let's make all of our shows matter.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go through a couple more of these chats here. AEW puts wrestling first. This was from One Man's Voice. As much as I enjoy the product, TK is more of a matchmaker than a booker. Tonight's show was very good with Ospreay and Swerve out. Kenny's health is declining. Again, we haven't really gotten to our broad shots of the show yet, but I won't obviously speak for Griffin, but I wouldn't say this was like a transcendent show at all, but like extremely easy to watch. Like I just looked up and I couldn't believe how fast the show went, and I think there was only this has to be one of the shorter cards for a 2-hour Dynamite in a very long time. Only 4 matches. That's and not
after a
nothing
comment that says he puts wrestling first, which usually definitely is the case. On the comment, I definitely think he is a matchmaker, not a storyteller, and that's really, my top 5 columns 2 weeks ago I wrote about, because as much as I love AEW, I love pro wrestling and love AEW. It's a completely different world. I look at wrestling like I look at comic books. It's a different universe. And, there's different rules and different chaos. And, you can kick out way more finishers in AEW. But that being said, you've got to look at it differently. So I enjoy AEW differently, but Tony's never been a storyteller. So that top 5 column about the top 5 bookers, I really focused on like modern bookers, who they set under, because Tony was a fan. So Tony's great at making matches because all of us as fans are like, wouldn't it be cool to see? What fans aren't great at is laying out like story arcs that pay off at the right times, not something that starts and stops and goes 3 weeks. And, the Sting retirement was a 12-month story told in 4 weeks. And then you've got stories that are dropped like MJF and the Hurt Syndicate that, they're not thought through, they don't play out, and things are rushed. So that really is Tony's weakness, because he was a fan. He makes great matches. He knows what makes matches great. So in that case, he's awesome. And I'll always applaud him for being one of the billionaires that provides jobs for people. So heads up, respect there. But he doesn't tell stories well. He doesn't pace them well. And that's really where he just needs to have somebody to lay out the story, because that's As much as we love wrestling matches, the reason the matches mean something is because of the story and the characters.
Very true. I think it's probably underrated on how difficult the booker's job is, because like you said, having kind of like the difficulties of, you have this idea of like MJF Hurt Syndicate, plans change, brother, and you have to kind of pivot the entire thing. It sounds like a huge pain in the ass, but that throughout the night, let us know your favorite story currently in AEW right now, because like Griffin said, the matches mean so much more. I mean, obviously, like, to me, if I had to kind of like do like a top, like do Griffin's bit here, I'm not sure, like I'd put like Punk and MJF in there.
Yes.
Tony Storm and Mariah May, honestly,
Absolutely.
Hangman and Kenny, and then
Hangman's Prime.
Yeah,
Hangman and Swerve.
Yeah, Hangman and Swerve. That's the other one. And if I had to go top five,
there's a lot of missteps. Those two performers have made it work,
right,
to their benefit.
Yeah, I agree.
Currently, my favorite story absolutely is the Young Bucks still being employed.
Yes,
pay all the money that they owe. Having to do $20 meet and greets. The promo shot for that 4-on-4 tag match, and their shots on there where one of their eyes are closed. Fantastic.
Favorite story right now for me. I'm really I don't know where it's going. I'm really into what they're doing with Garcia right now, because they've needed something different with him, because I
love Daniel Garcia.
I like, if you're selling your Daniel Garcia stock, I will gladly buy it. I just think he's got something, and I'm really looking forward to the match with him and Moxley on Saturday. I thought him and Moxley last week had hell of an opener. That was, and that was interesting, because that was kind of like a match, God forbid Moxley won a match with the wrestling move. Right? He won a match with the wrestling move. So I just thought that was just a fresh coat of paint there. Let's get through a couple more chats here from Derek Mitchell. Let's see. Derek Mitchell says, All Out moving to 3 p.m. Eastern. I'm not a fan of them changing the time because of WrestlePalooza. They should have stood their ground. Makes them weak, and retreating second to compete. I don't really think there's a right or wrong answer. Yeah. I just think ultimately the way AEW's kind of approached this year, specifically with AEW kind of like being, not very nice, is probably the nicest way to say about it. How they've kind of approached stuff is, you almost, for any OG Simpsons aficionado, if anybody is a true fan of the Treehouse of Horror genre of The Simpsons, there's the episode where all the inanimate objects come to life, and my thoughts and takes on how AEW should be approaching WWE's nonsense is, once the people stop looking at the items, they don't have any power anymore, and everybody just starts saying, just don't look, and then like the donut idol dies, and then I think there's like a big Abe Lincoln. It's been a while since I've seen that episode, but AEW's approach as far as just not acknowledging their nonsense, I think that's been really key on Tony's approach this year, and just being very complimentary of like the staff, the wrestlers, everything like that, just not taking any credit at all. And it's, again, like we mentioned on top of the stream, I just don't understand their strategy right now, Griffin. They already have a guaranteed deal for 3 years, and they have a fourth year that's a Warner Brothers Discovery option. So why wouldn't you have done this 6 or 7 months ago? Where I think if you're, I really don't think ultimately, if you were going to buy All Out, right, I don't think just because AJ Lee's coming back, that's going to make you shift. I think if anything, WWE as a product, they've shown massive decline this year, specifically creatively, where they're just, it's a slop. To me, a lot of their stuff that they've been giving, it's a slop. It's no DQ constantly. There's really no thoughts. all they're really worried about is putting on, they want to make moments, which is great. But eventually, like, what are you booking these moments to? What is the end game? What's the goal? You had such a nice little run in between 2022 to 2024. You got your money. You're fat and happy now. Like, but you got to go out there and do the work.
To the comment, I can kind of see both sides of that coin. You do look like your minor league by moving your time and saying we've got to move it so people watch, but you are minor league. I mean, you're not the WWE.
You're number 2, and that's fine.
And that's totally okay. Like, move the time and be okay with that. But at the same time, make your product stand out. So I want to watch your product and not WWE's product.
Yep.
Like that's what you need to do. Like, you need to build intrigue to the point that I say, I've got to skip that.
Yes.
I wanted to see All In way more than I wanted to see Goldberg's retirement. And I ordered All In, and I'm very happy I did.
Yes.
And also, people watch things on delay. Like,
yes,
you don't have to watch everything live. It's okay. People will watch both. And you know what? When it's a pay-per-view and you don't have to worry about advertisers, then cool. You got the same amount of money if they watched it on delay, and that's okay too. So, you are the second league, but they're going to counter program, and they've counter programmed over and over. I think this WrestlePalooza had some to do with the ESPN timing and college football, and it was the right time for it. And yes, it counter programmed, so they're not unhappy about that.
Right.
But hey, you've got Burger King, you've got McDonald's. Make your product matter.
Yep. You got Pepsi, you got Coke.
Yep.
It's all.
And it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that, like you said, AEW just needs to continue to focus on themselves and makes you want to give you some motivation to make this priority. Because, like you said, we're all probably going to watch it at some point.
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch both, obviously. Like I said, my preference, I'm going to watch AEW on Saturday, and then on Sunday, I'm going to watch when I have a clear head and I've had the space, because I'm not going to watch either. I think if you watch both of those back to back, more power to you. But like, for me, I feel like I wouldn't be able to have any honest opinion, because if I watched one that was better first, and then I would, sometimes the worst thing that happened for me personally, Griffin, is you're watching wrestling and wrestling is happening in front of you, and just you feel nothing, and I never want to like do that to my mind specifically.
That happens, but I play a lot of wrestling in the background when I'm on other things. So,
all right. Well, again, everybody in the chat, we got to gut through the show, but we'll definitely keep going through your comments. Thank you so much. It's probably the liveliest chat I've ever hosted. So thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. Everybody participating tonight. But Griffin, let's start running through the show a little bit here. So. Cold open, Excalibur was trying to do his job as a commentator and run down some of the card, but we had a Gabe Kidd, cameo where he had a mic. He basically called out Darby Allin because he wanted to fight him last week, and Gabe Kidd goes to the ring. Darby jumped him. They brawled. Nasty back and forth. I know Kidd decked Darby with a rebound lariat to the outside. Kidd went for a table. Darby hit him with the coffin drop. All of a sudden, the Death Riders started interfering. Darby grabbed a skateboard from under the ring with thumbtacks. He actually hit Gabe Kidd with it, and also Yuta, and Yuta had thumbtacks in the back. Nice visual. And, massive brawl, all the Death Riders, Marina, Claudio, Mox, everybody starts brawling, and then all of a sudden the baby faces come out. You see the hit hooks first. Nice touch, obviously, in the 2300 arena, very cool. And then the Ops come out, and Willow's brawling with Marina.
Could have kept the old song, though.
Well,
This
it was
song doesn't hit for me.
well, I feel like there might have been I feel like I might have saw a blurb of something maybe from Fightful Select for mentioning maybe there was like an issue with the Action Brunson like song rights. Maybe I'm not sure.
I
Like
think
don't.
he said I think he said less than flattering things about AEW too.
Yeah, so probably. You know, I don't know. Like it's different for sure.
I understand they want everybody singing it in the middle, but Hook's not there yet, and they
no.
envision that being a someday thing. But I just don't think the song hits, and I just don't think it works for his walkout. I loved his, walkout where he was just there. He wasn't there to pose. He wasn't there to get your attention. He was there to walk around the ring, get in the ring, and fight someone. And that song worked so well. And this one's like, it just does not fit the character that they still needs tons of character development, which it looks like we might be getting some to jump ahead here. But
yeah, you know, he had it like a nice little exchange with Joe in the back, and I feel like that might have been
yeah, we'll
his.
talk about that when
Yeah,
we get
yeah,
there.
yeah, for sure. And then everybody's brawling in the ring, and then Kid and Darby go to the backstage. Kid tried to hit Darby with a hammer. Darby ducked him, hit him with some powder, put a rag on his face. I don't know if putting somebody in a body bag and dragging him by a truck is technically a crime, but it's might be attempted murder. So we'll have to put that in the crime count. So we're casually back to the crime, AW committing crimes, where we were doing better on that for a little bit, but I understand what Darby was doing. But
I mean, this is the company that uses syringes and plastic bags over heads, so it doesn't.
Yes. I will say I think we had mentioned this in our pre-chat, Griffin. This was kind of the tone setter of the show and the vibe of the 2300 arena. I will say
ECW chaos.
Yeah, chaos, brawls, all throughout the night. But it obviously, a tone setter to set the show. And I fine. I didn't had any problems with it. I liked how they did actually get Willow back involved with Marina brawling. But yeah, no complaints from me.
I would like to see more of who Gabe Kidd is as somebody who only knows peripherally about New Japan. Like I only know New Japan from here and there, reading, watching a clip, something being alluded to. But there's too much wrestling as it is. I'm not going outside of the country. Well, yes, I am. I love lucha. But I'm not going out of two countries to find more wrestling. But I like Gabe Kidd. I just want to know more.
Fair, absolutely. Did you happen to watch have you seen clips of the match he had with Omega at the start of the year from the Wrestle Kingdom show?
I did not see that.
Okay. Match. Yeah, no, absolutely understandable. Especially if you're not like a New Japan World subscriber and watcher. I mean, especially the state of the company right now is not great. So, I completely, like you said, it would be nice to have those kind of like brief video packages. He's kind of like had cameos on Dynamite. I think he killed somebody on Collision one time, just like a random match. It might have been on Dynamite. I can't really recall off the top of my head, but like and you said,
he's been around here and there for years, but I know that AEW and AEW fans aren't always big fans of video packages, but like something to say who this guy is. Like, give him a couple showcase matches in AEW, like on Dynamite, on Collision. Let him trash some jobbers. Let me see his moves. Let me, everything that I've seen has been him in groups, multi-man tag matches or, chaos cage matches or something. So, I like to see a guy be introduced in some singles matches so I know what to look for in the ring. I know some singles spots. I know his character as a wrestler. Again, that's the lack of storytelling that I feel AEW has.
I will say specifically on Collision, Griffin, they've done such a better job on those highlight packages in those recaps.
And I
Dynamite,
barely ever get a catch Collision, so that's
right? No, completely understandable. That's my forte. No worries. That's something always kind of clamored for the show, just to have those understanding, just in case you didn't see Dynamite, or you can provide that vignette on Tony Storm or Athena or whoever. I did like obviously the little hype video they did for Garcia and Moxley.
Yeah,
That's
they did
fine.
a great one for Hook a couple years ago when he was facing Samoa Joe, when Joe had the belt. And they just uploaded it on like Twitter or YouTube or something, and that was fantastic. More of that. That got a lot of
buzz. For sure, and because I some of the stuff that they've done, I think they finally learned that some of the stuff on social media that they'll post at first, they've started gradually, slowly transferring that on TV, because that's great for if you're the online fan, but let's put that on television, because a lot of this stuff is really, really good. I liked how they at least the pivot of the Hurt Syndicate MJF stuff is obviously not ideal. However, I'm glad they're at least doing the work, trying to make it sensible. Ricochet trying to validate, hey, you were an a-hole to me, MVP. This is why I cost the Hurt Syndicate the tag team titles. This is why I'm mad. So they're trying to do the little stuff there, but I feel like when they are trying to do a video package, my only complaint is, okay, do it different from WWE, because sometimes I get really annoyed by the way Michael Cole just kind of talks to me as like a viewer. They they kind of just treat you like you're a simpleton sometimes. I don't really appreciate that. I mean, not all the time, but sometimes the way they kind of explain stuff is very mansplaining. Like if we were trying to do that.
There's a reason for that. You have to be beat over the head with something to fully grasp it. So.
True. I will say Bryan Danielson does a great, he was fantastic on doing that on commentary for Forbidden Door. He was fantastic.
Should be on commentary all the time.
Yes. Myself and Amanda Jenny, we agree with you, Griffin, 100%. Okay, let's go through our first match of the night, and we'll get back to your chats here on YouTube. And thank you again for our audio listeners. First match actually opens up with the TBS title match. Obviously, when they laid out the All-Star tag as a main event, this was a good opener to have. We mentioned it earlier. Mercedes Moné actually came out with all of her belts against the ropes. Very cute. And she came out first. Windsor came out second. I will say this was a very, very good match. I wouldn't call it excellent, but this is just another very good match. Another opportunity for Mercedes to elevate somebody trying to get over in the division. And this went 15 minutes. Griffin, really appreciated them doing the 10-minute call.
Yeah.
Yes. That's
the old school.
And here's the thing, right? Everybody kind of argues about it because it's because everybody thinks New Japan does. I think New Japan, I believe, does it every 5 minutes, and it's what I don't know if there's a sweet spot. To me, I think about every 10 minutes. I think if it's if it's a 20-minute match, you do a 10, a 5, and a 1. That's just me. And if it's 30, you do a 10, you do a 20, and then you do like a 1 maybe.
Yeah.
If they were a little bit more consistent with that, I think that's always been kind of a bugaboo, but that's just a weird wrestling thing anyway, because it's not there's WWE doesn't do it either, so I don't know if TNA really does that.
But I think, and again, consistency is not a strong suit of Tony. Remember the top 10 lists. So consistency is not always his thing. But one of the things that I've always appreciated about the Continental title, and now they unified title, unified. 10 years from now, they're going to call it the unified title. Unified what title? But I've always liked that there is no outside interference. It makes those matches for that title feel different and special. So I'd love to see them bring back what was old school, the NWA World Television
Mm-hmm.
Championship match where they usually went time minute draw. They, and they would call out the times, and yeah, it can be too annoying. But 10 minutes in, 20 minutes in to this 30-minute match, we have 5 minutes remaining. We have 2 minutes remaining. Just consistency is the main thing there, so it doesn't feel like it's out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw my hands up. I just still say to this day, I think my favorite Dynamite match ever. I was there live. I brought the missus with me. The hour draw between Danielson and Hangman was incredible, and I, and again, that was an hour that felt like 20 minutes. Just absolutely flew by. Now, to a man, I couldn't remember. I couldn't tell you if Roberts was banging on the time calls. I was just in awe of like what was going on in front of me. But
I think so.
You can have a great draw that's a match. Like you absolutely can. It's like you said,
and it's a great way to tell a story.
Yes.
Like just say, I mean, man, go back to the old school. What made CM Punk and Samoa Joe were those time limit draws they had in ROH. And then we've got to have a match without a time limit to see who can actually finish this match.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they're obviously still telling a little story because, before the match ended, Windsor and Monet were kind of grappling, and then they fell out of the ring, and Windsor did actually get Monet to tap outside of the ring. So that's obviously a thread story that they keep on telling. Which is very interesting. But again, Windsor is getting more TV time. I'm glad she's taking advantage of it. It's very cool to, have these, we're not getting the period of we would get kind of like the weekly, monthly challengers in the women's division, and then they would disappear at 6 months. These women are kind of staying in the, the environment, the cycle of like the mid-card titles. I don't know if you ask me now, like, do I think Alex Windsor is the one to beat Mercedes Moné eventually? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, if they tell the right story, I'm in. At some point they have to start kind of planting the seeds of the Mercedes downfall, but I believe they're not even going to start doing that until. Well, I don't think they're going to do anything.
I don't want it to be like the Hurt Syndicate dropping the belts, where like you give them a run and then it doesn't even matter.
Well, there's a couple thoughts, right? So she could, my initial thought is she's not dropping the TBS title until she passes Jade Cargill's record. Now, I think that record doesn't come to fruition until sometime in October potentially. So that I wouldn't want them to rush a title change right now anyway. But speaking of the potential title challengers, there is obviously a new match set for All Out. After the match, after Mercedes won with the statement maker, like I said, clean finish. The grappling groundwork was great from both ladies. Windsor went for handshake. Monet flicked her off. Windsor didn't take too kindly of that, and they brawled. Monet got her back in the statement maker, and all of a sudden you hear the music of returning OG Riho back. I believe she had it was either arm, elbow. Like she was out for a really long time, but really, really cool to see like one of the OGs back. And I'm really intrigued to see what the prospects of Riho and Mercedes will look like. Rio, she's a day oneer. I feel like she's like, she's viewed and favored in the audience like differently, just from like a lot of other people are. I think obviously nobody's going to think Riho will win, but I think this is just, again, if you're going to feature Mercedes Moné and have her just go out there and just wrestle and wrestle a great match for 15, 20 minutes, okay, I'm not going to complain about that at all.
Yeah, no, I think, and we'll get into this again later with the TNT title, but I think a champion needs challengers to build more credibility for time, especially a heel needs more and more wins to build credibility into when they lose the title. So they need people that you're like, Riho's not going to win the TBS championship.
Yeah.
And I doubt that Briscoe's winning the TNT championship.
Mm-hmm.
But both of them have really good challengers to build their story, to build their credibility over these people who have held titles before, respected by fans, put a great match together, and give them somebody to beat that means something. And it's just enjoyable to watch. It's not always about seeing who's going to take the champion out.
Right.
We'll get there.
All right. And we'll start getting back to some of the chat here. So we got Derek Mitchell back in the chat here for our audio listeners here. Derek says, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Tony Khan is like the Dallas Cowboys owner, Jerry Jones, who's the owner, president, GM. And they both respectfully can't relinquish control to others.
I've only been on here before when he's made that comment, and it's spot on. Like, it's hard to give control away to something you own and something you have a vision for. But if you cannot execute that vision, you've got to give that to somebody who can, that you trust.
Yeah, and Tony Khan's, again, to go back to Tony's approach to this year, I don't know if he has this reputation of just being a nice guy, and everybody wants to kind of,
unless you think he's a communist.
Yeah. Everybody people like to poke jokes at him, and he's obviously he's gotten flustered at times by the maybe the pressure, and then everything going on, and he's made it abundantly clear he's had to kind of like take away people that maybe he was not listening to the right people. Now I will say, kind of just speaking to different people in the company, I do like a lot of the voices working with Tony now specifically. I mean, you look at somebody like Will Washington, and you've got Christopher Daniels back there. You've got Chuck. Dustin Rhodes does a great job producing the women's matches, especially a lot of the Plunder stuff. You've got obviously some of the older reps back there kind of producing the matches. You've got I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name. The writer Mercedes brought in, who's really good. That she's worked with men and women. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I'm blanking on her name.
Danielson yet? I can't remember her name.
Oh, yeah. Danielson, when he's there as well, I feel like he's being a little bit more strict on who he should listen to.
I think Danielson's a much better voice. I mean, man.
Yeah. For sure.
Man, you look at that Yes movement and how it was. WWE did not want to push the guy, and he forced him to. Like, he knows what the crowd wants to see, and just let him do it.
Well,
he may not want to.
Now, I will kind of like have a more kind of broader conversation with Derek's comment. Now, me personally, I do not feel Tony Khan should be running everything, because I really feel like ROH, he should give that to Chris Hero and let that be his baby. And if Tony still wants to come around for the pay-per-views, that's great. I just feel like it would be nice for somebody else to run ROH, so that way it can have a different feel, different voice, where I've had fun. I've had a blast every time I've attended an ROH show. But like you said, let's have a little bit more flair, creativity. Let somebody else put a spin on it. I'm completely for that. And then, God forbid, Tony, there's only so many hours in a day. You can only do the Jaguars. You can only do Fulham. You can only do analytics for your baseball.
Yeah.
Like,
you don't have the best ideas. You just don't. Like, you've got to listen to other ideas. Vince McMahon never had the best ideas. Vince Russo sure as hell did not have the best ideas.
He did not.
But his good ones got through. That's probably the best example right there. He had terrible ideas, but his good ones got through. And you've got to listen. Vince McMahon knew when to listen to his voice and when not to. And that's what Tony needs to learn, is to say, all right, you have a good idea here. The other ideas aren't good. We're going to run with this, or we're going to start here and tweak this. But yeah, he's got to figure out some way to focus and build that, consistency.
Yeah. And also, Tony, I just want you to be able to get some rest at some point. Just, there's only so many hours in a day. Now, I will say, I don't know if this approach this year has kind of refreshed him. He does feel a little bit more, he feels refreshed. He feels rested, because I feel like even on the media calls, scrums, he was a little bit more short, combative, but he's been a little bit more thoughtful.
I just think Tony should stay off camera. He's not great on camera. Be a behind the scenes guy.
That, I know that's not for everybody, for sure. All right, back to Derek Mitchell, reading some more YouTube comments for our audio listeners here. Brian, do you think it's cool for Mercedes to display the Owen Hart Cup title, which is not a real title? Just curious.
Yes.
Great question, Derek. I don't mind it, because if you remember, Britt Baker did it. It's a gimmick, and then also Britt Baker did it for a while as well. And obviously Hangman Page kind of did it. He relinquished the belt because, we knew he was going to win the belt. I like you said, Griffin, Mercedes doing it as a gimmick, even though she lost to Toni Storm, I think it's a cute gimmick, because maybe at some point that'll be the one title that she has left.
And if she's listening and wants one more title, I will put a rush on getting that Nerdstalgia Multiversal Championship.
Hey, let's go.
I'm all about it.
Let's go. All right, let's read some more chats here. Let's see. Talking football, Market Parsons. Yeah, let's see here. A lot of Jerry Jones talk. Let's see. All right, Andrew H. For our audio listeners from our YouTube chat here, Andrew H. says, without Cody, you don't have All In. You don't have Tony's interest. Bet with Meltzer, Ego, no Ergo, no AEW. Yeah, true. Meltzer and Cody will always be a part of AEW. Let's see here. Oh, this is a fun one. Griffin. Zach Barber in the chat. Tito Santana out of retirement. Griffin breaking news. LOL. Nice.
Yeah. That would have been quite the wrestling match. I think Chael Sonnen might kill Tito Santana.
Let's see here. What else we have here? A lot of football talk. All right. I know it's that time of the year.
I'm not your guy for that.
We'll have to give Wade some hard time for if his Vikings don't do as well as they will. I'm a Cowboys fan. And just it's a whole thing. So let's see here.
I heard foosball was of the devil, so I stayed away.
All right. Zach Barber back in the chat for our audio listeners. He says, yes, Andrew, but it's literally brand new. Now things have settled. WWE rebounded. AEW still sold 30,000 tickets here in Texas, 19 in London, and 17,000 in Toronto.
I love seeing the size of that show for All In, man. It warmed my heart to see.
It was incredible. Just, I loved, again, I like the aesthetics. I'm a nerd when it comes to that. I loved how they arranged everything. And
I really wanted to go, but store opening this year was not able to do it. But
yeah, no, I completely understand. One of my favorite things of the show, Griffin, from All In, is just how easy it was kind of maneuver everything. It wasn't like they spread out all the floor seats. It wasn't nut to butt or anything like that. So I really, really appreciate how they laid out everything. All right, so let's go more onto the show here. So after our first match, Renee was backstage with the Ops, and Renee asked Joe where does Hook stand with the group. Hook actually interjected, and he told the Ops specifically he doesn't need anybody to fight his battles. Obviously, Hook was very upset with Joe that he had said, the body wasn't even, the body was still cold, and you found a way to replace him. Joe basically said, whether you like it or not, we're always going to have your back. And yeah, I mean, it was an interesting interaction. Obviously, Hook doesn't get a lot of kind of speaking parts. I don't, yeah, because like you said,
I'm afraid.
Yeah, with the current the Hook presentation, it's.
I think it becomes awkward when they try to make him a non-talker. I think it's awkward to make him not talk.
He's an interesting case, Griffin. I'll be honest. I was surprised he re-signed with AEW. I thought maybe he could have been a case where, okay, let's see what you look like over there, kind of thing. Maybe it's time to leave the territory, kind of thing. Obviously, there's still. I mean, obviously his dad works there. If it's more comfortable, hey, I will always support anybody. If you're happy with what you're doing and where you work, more power to you. We're just, we're just
that high up on the card in WWE. So, if he gets better creative here and knows he's going to have a bigger spot, I just don't see him being big outside of NXT.
No, I mean, obviously he would have been an NXT guy for a while. I think they would have probably found a way to kind of gimmick him a little bit. And I don't know, like you said, I just like they've done kind of cool vignettes with Hook in the past, kind of in the street, and then especially like when he's in the Bronx and stuff like that. That's been cool. I actually really liked
how they failed when they dropped Hookhausen. That was the number one AEW failure. Not CM Punk, not Cody, Hookhausen.
That was super entertaining, and obviously we got to see this side of Hook. I think Hook and Orange have tagged a time or two. Obviously, Hook and Jungle Boy, that was neat while it lasted. And Hook, like I just need something. Like Hook in the ring is still not all there for me because I feel like I can kind of relate. I like a lot of different styles, but something still hasn't really transferred over for me as Hook as a wrestler yet. And
he doesn't do a lot of stuff in between moves. And
yes,
that's where a wrestler is good. A lot of wrestlers do moves. It's what you do in between the moves that make you stand out. And I also think he's just a unique, no-nonsense character. And really, really have to work to put that over. He's also really small to play that character. Like, if you're gonna looking like a badass, you better look like a badass. And he's a badass. He'd whoop my ass. I am sure of it. But I don't see him. I don't see him legitimately, like the way he wrestles is not a little guy fighting bigger guys. He fights a big guy style, and that's because his dad did, but his dad was thicker and in territory.
Yeah, and I'm just, and it's funny. I still feel like the best match in Hook's career was that you'd mentioned it earlier. That match he had with Samoa Joe. Yeah, like the best match he's ever had in his career by miles.
Oh yeah,
and we thought that that was kind of like, oh, okay.
I thought it was a coming out party, but
exactly, and it just it hasn't, and he's still a young guy.
He is.
Developmental is not always linear, and sometimes it just takes some time, a little bit to find yourself, and maybe him kind of being a little bit more on camera, like you said, the music.
I'm hoping he kind of. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Like you said, the music's kind of like it's unique. I don't know if it necessarily fits his vibe per se. Like, well, like what is he trying to be? Is he trying to be the tough guy, ladies' man, both? Like what? It looks like he's bulked up a little bit, which is aesthetically.
He was like a badass version of Orange Cassidy.
Pretty much, yeah.
He was the non-comedy version of like. I'm sitting here eating my bag of potato chips, and when it's time to get up and whoop someone's ass in the ring, I'll get up and whoop someone's ass in the ring. Like that was his character, and I just don't think they committed to it enough to really make it happen. I do hope this is a heel turn that we get, as much as heel turns matter in AEW. See Chris Statlander. I never know what she is from week to week. But a good solid heel turn would be a good move for him.
Yeah, need something. Need a nice little coat of paint, and I don't know if that turn is with the Death Riders. Hook maybe kind of doing his own thing. We'll see. I'm interested to see what happens to young Hook. Let's see. Let's go back to our YouTube chat. Let's see here. For audio listeners, we have Mark in the YouTube chat. Mark says the match production style by agents or producers feels too video game style for wrestling. I don't consider better wrestling. I cite the Mercedes match. Stevie Richards ain't wrong. She's gone backwards. I'll politely disagree on that, Mark. If you think Mercedes matches this year have gone backwards,
Yeah.
yeah,
Anytime a sentence starts with "I agree with Stevie Richards,"
right. Let's. I think we've already lost the plot a little bit. No disrespect, Mark, if you are a fan of Stevie Richards, but I just, yeah, he's not somebody I would put on my subscribe list on YouTube.
yeah, he's pretty clickbaity and negative.
Yeah,
Puts
yeah,
himself over a lot for somebody who never had much of a career.
that's what a lot of these old timey wrestlers do, Griffin. Let's see here.
Well, some of them did a little bit more.
Let's see here. We have Raymond Noodle in the chat here for our audio listeners. He said, or they say, people were generally positive on the early start for the start time for the pay-per-view. It's also better for Europe, where AEW is pretty hot. Why would you be supposed of doing both companies like that to see both? Yeah, I mean, honestly, again, I don't mind them if they're taking the UK viewership in account. Cool, man, because like I could not imagine waking up at stupid 30 to watch wrestling. Like, those brothers and sisters, and however they identify, Griffin, they're out there grinding harder than us.
I remember when WWE had their first like live show from Tokyo, and I remember trying to wake up at like 2 a.m. and watch it, and I'm like, yeah, I can't do this.
Yeah, it's a grind.
Hardcore.
All right, here. So going through our card here, our next little segment, we had Ricochet in the back with Gates of Agony cutting a promo backstage on the Hurt Syndicate, and they had basically laid out a challenge for a match at All Out between Ricochet, Gates of Agony versus the trio of the Hurt Syndicate. How do you like the trio of Ricochet and Gates of Agony, Griffin? You like it? You like it so far?
So, and I think they're just GOA now, aren't they?
Yes. GOA.
So I like them having character. Like when they came out before, they were a tag team. I don't have time to watch everything. I didn't watch ROH. I know nothing about these guys. They just look like a couple Islander ripoffs, is all I saw when I saw them. But now that some characters coming out of them, they're fantastic. I really like them being with Ricochet. It's a positive move and shows why factions are brilliant, why they're necessary in wrestling. You've got to take the over guy and put a couple people behind him to help them develop, get some screen time, and see who they are. I mean, man, unending list of people you can do that, but I love seeing that with them. Love seeing MVP wrestle because MVP was super, super, super underrated. I'm a big MVP mark, so I think he's massively underrated on the mic, was underrated in the ring in his era. Probably wouldn't make my top 5, but probably would make my top 10 for guys who should have gotten a shot with a world championship. So I love seeing his matches. I love seeing that, he doesn't have a lot left at his age, but his body feels great. He's talked a lot about stem cell research and things that he's had done. He feels great and wants to have a few matches.
Great shape.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah, just like standing next to him. I mean, all three men are just units in general. Just I just how the fact that they somehow are getting they look younger.
But you
they
still
look younger every time I see them.
As an older man, you still hurt on the inside.
Yes, that's for sure. And after the backstage promo with Ricochet and Gates of Agony, Excalibur mentioned Taz was actually honored. Hopefully they'll post. I was kind of bummed. I was looking forward to see that. I wanted to see it on Collision, and they bumped it. And then obviously they said they were gonna do it tonight. I would have liked to see that on TV. Hopefully they'll share the YouTube short at some point. I haven't been on X, obviously because Griffin and I are here, but that'll be pretty cool to see. They showed the banner. That's really cool. Like just the fact that you know, for anybody that doesn't like Tony as his booker, his quirks, he means well and he's a nice person. And sometimes it's just nice to do nice things in wrestling that can not be very nice sometimes. So that was really, really cool. And then we had Mark Briscoe come out to the ring. He was very complimentary of the 2300 arena, mentioned how he and brother fell in love with pro wrestling here. Said it's been guns blazing ever since. He called, focus to the TNT title. He wants the match with Kyle Fletcher. And the fans chanted, F you, Don Callis. And basically, Callis came out and he engaged with Briscoe and said he doesn't have time for him tonight. Briscoe said he wants a fight. And Callis said he's going to get a fight this coming Saturday, which I'm very happy that they were promoting so many matches ahead of time for Collision. Thank you, because it's not ideally great when you only have one match to potentially kind of have, and then you're giving the fans something to look to. It just, again, to me, Griffin, I always promote your matches on TV. Don't just assume everybody's going to pick it up on socials, because like we all have lives and work and all that other kind. Like if you're putting that ahead of time, like promote ahead of time, like because Collision has been weird about that kind of throughout the years. I always enjoyed how, at least going into the Saturday following on that show, they would at least promote 2 to 3 things, and throughout Dynamite they would mention 1 or 2 more things. So that way you at least got like a kind of Rolodex to look forward to. Like always promote the show, Saturday show ahead of time. Give fans a reason to watch, because if you're just throwing it away, again, I know it's convoluted and you're probably going to get killed anyway, but still, like, you have the show on Saturday, you want to have it function. Yes, like put in the effort, and people will like want to go in and watch the show, like, and just not casually tune in just for the C2. I assure you.
Yep. It's all about the build. It's all about the chase. It's the anticipation.
But Don Callis did confirm Mark Briscoe is going to wrestle Takeshita on Collision, which would, yes, please. That sounds great.
Absolutely.
And throughout that, they squared off, and then Briscoe said he still wanted to fight. Romero and Archer got in there, and Mark Briscoe had a nice little 7-minute match with Archer. Kind of just exactly what you figured. Kind of, I'm not necessarily the fan of the impromptu match per se, but at least this Briscoe is very adamant at the top that he wanted to fight. He was dressed for a fight. He wanted to fight. So it wasn't as contrivey or showing the wires as you thought. Obviously, this is just the easy match for Briscoe to get a win. And, we'll see what happens on Saturday. I will say, too, I don't know, Griffin, who actually wins that match, and that's a great thing, because obviously Takeshita, he's fresh off like the G1. I know New Japan obviously wants to protect him a little bit.
I think it'll be some shenanigans involved, and I think it'll be a little, the most devastating maneuver in all of pro wrestling, a surprise roll-up.
Oh, no.
Probably, we'll probably finish the match, but I think this is the perfect, I call for story, and this is exactly what they should do. It is simple. It's the basics. Like, WWE became, like, Triple H's booking is basics. Like,
he loves the plot.
Sometimes it works, and some, you can criticize it too, but basics do work. And at least start there and build off of that. And it's the video games. You go back to 8-bit Nintendo games, and you have you have a boss level. You have a level, you have a boss at the end, you have that level and a boss at the end, then you get to the big boss. And he's working his way to Kyle Fletcher, who's going to be the video game boss. why Kyle Fletcher's in multiple stories, I don't get. Again, focus, Tony. But I love the story of Briscoe's going to go through these guys to get to Fletcher, because that's exactly what we want to see. And he's going to go through the smaller guys, and Takeshita is massively, he's young too. And if he's not a top guy, eventually that'll be a massive disappointment. But even though his English isn't there, man, that guy could be massive in the States.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is a great match. And then Fletcher can beat Briscoe and make himself a bigger champion for beating an indie legend, ROH legend, who beat all the other guys in his faction, but he beat him, and it was in dominant fashion at the end.
Yeah, if you want to try to restore the feeling of the TNT title, this is how you do it.
Well, there's only been like 3 good TNT title runs, so.
Well, right, and I would say, let's see,
maybe
Cody. Yeah, Cody Darby. I did really enjoy the Miro. The Christian Cage one, underrated. I actually did like that. The Miro run when he was the Redeemer.
Yep.
When he had the white strap. I mean, I wish every TNT champion would have their own belt. I wish that was the gimmick. I was really disappointed Fletcher hasn't come out with a pink belt yet.
Oh God.
Yeah, just because he does it as
tiny, like it comes out from behind the curtain.
Yeah, that'd be a good bit. Let's see. After Briscoe won and beat Lance Archer in 7 minutes, we had the classic Tony Storm promo from earlier in the day. She it was a very timeless Tony Storm promo where she's basically called out all challengers. I don't really know what Tony Storm's direction is for All Out. Griffin, obviously, I don't know if it's hopium or if it's wish casting. Obviously, a lot of people are trying to bring to life this possibility, of potentially a women's blood and guts match, because they're doing a lot of like women brawling, feuding with each other. You've got all these different groups and factions now in the women's division.
I'm here for not having a men's win one year and just having a women's win. That would be awesome.
Well, I'll counter your counter with something even better. If they're not necessarily in love with, potentially what could be Hangman's competitor for All Out, have the women main event the show, man. If you want to just flex and say, you know what, not only are we going to do our own thing and, we're different, have these women just go, man.
Tony Storm, legitimately my 2 favorite things in professional wrestling are Paul Heyman and Tony Storm. I think they are the 2 greatest things, and I think Cody Rhodes is like a real close third. But man, I love Tony Storm. I think she's fantastic. I think she gets it. I think she gets the character aspect of things. She is just so fantastic in her character building, her storytelling, her matches. Everything about her is great.
Yeah, she's one of my favorites. She's so unique because I feel like, like you said, Griffin, she's one of one to me because nobody else could do her cadence in this character that's evolved and has so many layers, because I know everybody didn't like it at first, but just the fact that it's evolved over time, just incredible stuff. I would love to have a conversation or do a podcast with her and her husband, like the creative juices, no pun intended, with her and Juice Robinson together. I want to see what carries on in those conversations. I want to be a fly in the water. It would probably be fascinating.
I don't know. For anybody that knows their Bible, Juice without a beard is kind of like Samson without his hair. I just breaks my heart.
Yeah, it was. Don't get me wrong, very happy to see.
He's too good looking without the beard, man. I can't like that guy.
Let's see. After our Tony Storm promo, Renee Paquette, busy as ever backstage. She was with Harley Cameron and Chris Statlander, championing their tag team success. And Harley was trying to come up with her name. Statlander ripped off her mask. And all of a sudden, we have Wheeler Yuta coming backstage. And he had basically told Statlander the Death Riders have her back whenever she needs it. And Statlander replied, "Tell your friend I got the message." And obviously, Marina Shafir gets in her face. I've seen people, Griffin, say they're uneven about like what this kind of direction of Statlander is. I kind of like the different threads she's at because she's pulled different directions. So you've got kind of stuff going on with Harley Cameron. You've got stuff going on with Willow Nightingale. She's doing stuff with Megan Bayne. She's actually involved in one of the top heel faction of the company. Yeah. I think that's really cool.
I don't know. I will disagree. I think that's unfocused storytelling. Like, who is Chris Statlander? Like, why do I like? She's really cool with some people. She's not cool with Willow. She, like who? Like, why am I supposed to root for her? But then I'm not supposed to root for her here, and like be more focused with the character.
Yeah. That's true, and I think I just like it because they don't usually do this with women in general. Just integrated in so many storylines. If you feel like they've kind of dropped the Willow stuff, which is, I agree, it's been kind of weird and clunky. Like, I completely agree. I feel like they were trying to sell something, and then Sat went from being straight heel, and now she's a tweener. Is she gonna go heel? It's not necessarily as interesting to me as the Garcia stuff, but depending on where they go with the women's division, if they are going to integrate with a women's blood and guts, and Tony Khan's been on record that he's kind of put the women's tag titles on a burner, which I don't know why they couldn't do that now. I mean, you've got Riho just came back. Obviously, they still have a lot of people on the shelf. I just feel like if you wanted to do something crazy for the all out card, that's also an option. But if it's not your favorite jam, I completely understand, and it's been very clunky. It's not great, but I think it's interesting just the fact that at least Statlander's involved in so many different things going on, especially if she does go the Moxley route. I mean, what does she look like as a Death Rider? Does Willow have to rescue her eventually? We'll see.
I do want to see more Marina Shafir. So, like, she's never in the ring, and she needs to be in the ring. And I just think they finally got to where they're using her. I love her being like Moxley's muscle, because usually your muscles is a Curtis Hughes type, like the big muscular, Curtis Hughes, Kevin Nash. That's usually your muscle. But you know what? If I had my pick of 10 people and Marina Shafir was in the bunch, that might be one that I would choose for my muscle. She is a badass, and I use her in the ring more. Like, now that you've got her like over as a character, like, she doesn't wrestle now.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed her in our Anarchy in the Arena for sure. I thought she's come along. I would say John Moxley's kind of justified in her admiration for her. She's, especially towards the end when Moxley finally lost, she added so much. That promo that she cut on Collision before All In, where she was just dog cussing everybody and said what she said on live television. I was like, oh, okay, we're there now. And I've kind of seen people show clips of Marina slapping Hangman, and then obviously Becky Lynch slapping around Punk. I think that's been kind of a cool little side-to-side clip I've seen this week. So absolutely. And I hope at some point, if Moxley does turn, my hope is, Griffin, is Marina ends up being the leader. I think that'd be kind of cool if she could channel her own little their version of Rhea Ripley as like a badass. I'm completely.
I mean, Dude, as much as I love Tony Storm, like I would love, like the story would be great if she, especially if like she was the leader of a faction, she's
Mm-hmm.
like especially she's a female leader of an all male faction. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that'd be huge. And
Yeah.
then
And
like lead her to a showdown with Tony Storm at All In next year.
that'd be cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's run through some of the chat here. Thank y'all so much for being active. Really appreciate y'all. And Jennifer Pepperman was the name I slipped. Thank you so much, Zach Barber and Derek, for slipping that. My brain malfunctioned. Sorry, guys. It's been a long day. I really, really appreciate you guys keeping me on my toes there. Let's see. Adam Kidd in the chat for our audio listeners and our YouTube chat says Hook's new music
Word.
blows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's different. So hopefully
yeah.
hopefully at some point they pivot with they can change the character to match it at some point.
Yeah.
Let's
I
see.
mean that that crooner hip hop stuff is such a big genre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Derek Mitchell in our YouTube chat for our audio listeners says, I think Hook looks like a teenager compared to other wrestlers in contrast to Javon Evans. He looks like a younger Hook, but is taller and look like Kevin Durant to a Hook small frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see here.
I think that's kind of the appeal a little bit too, though, because going back to the non-comedic Orange Cassidy, he's just kind of a bum, kind of like my 17-year-old kid who wears and doesn't worry about what his hair looks like and just kind of walks around and does what he has to do. Like, I think that's part of the appeal to the character, but like, put that over, tell that story, make that matter. Like, it's there.
Yeah. Let's see. We got EJ Reed in the chat. I feel like Nick Wayne is miles ahead of Hook. Well, I mean, EJ, I mean, that's you're 100% right there. I felt for my taste, Nick Wayne is, I will say, Griffin, I think he's my favorite TV wrestler right now. He just offers something different in this, content space where everything kind of eats itself.
Can we get his mom off TV?
What's that?
I would like him more if his mom was never on TV again. She killed Christian Cage's gimmick. I think everything Christian Cage went downhill once she joined. I'm not a fan of his mom.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they take the group. I didn't mind Shayna with Cage at first. I am into Nick Wayne speaking up a little bit more, cutting it.
I am into that. Nick Wayne. Yeah.
If the mom wants to be the valet, perfect. Hey, valets are under. People don't use valets anymore, Griffin. What's up with that? I feel
agreed,
like
but can we pick a better one? She's not Sunny.
No, she's not Sunny, but she is Nick Wayne's mom. So, but yes, Nick Wayne is just he's a freak. He can't even legally drink a beer yet.
Yeah,
he's as good as he is. That's insane. Like, and
Harley
good thing is
Cameron would be a great valet. Sorry to interrupt with that.
Oh no! Like
out of my head, but God, she would be fantastic as a valet.
What if we pair her with Hook?
Oh my God!
Yeah, there we go. We're booking on the fly. We're booking.
Let's book
Hook and we got Hook and Harley.
All right, so we've already got Hook and Harley, and we've got Marina Shafir as leader of an all-male faction.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're cooking and we're booking here, and I would say this is definitely, speaking of cooking and booking, this tag team title match that was scheduled and announced on social media from Tony Khan, Brodito versus Death Riders. I liked the main event, but I liked this match. I think this was my match of the night. I think it was 12 minutes. Brodito, if you're not a fan, I think majority of all of the AEW fans are pro Brodito. I was honestly shocked, Griffin, when they pushed him as they did, because in years past, if something kind of like simmered and got kind of hot, AEW would have been like, that's just a weak thing. We're not going to really take that seriously. But just I'm really, obviously the finish kind of fell flat at Forbidden Door, but just the chemistry, the relationship,
because
Brodito
they
had.
didn't get the chase. That's why. I mean, the crowning
Yeah.
was like there was no chase for them. They're a great odd couple tag team.
Yes,
They're
great,
awesome.
strange bedfellows of a tag
Yeah.
team,
Yep.
and again, I'm so glad that even though Julia Hart's kind of out of their group now, and Buddy Matthews is Godspeed. It sounds like he's still going to be out for a long time. I'm glad that Brody King's kind of taking advantage of an opportunity.
Yeah.
And just said, you know what, I'm a freaking great professional wrestler. You're gonna have to figure out a way to stick me on TV. And like you said, the chase would have been better. I think it just kind of just shows kind of like the gaping hole kind of in the tag division right now. And I feel like they're slowly kind of building some depth. Now you want to add a little bit more stories and then figure out, okay, like what's the destination, for Brodito at some point. Because like you said, they didn't traditionally have a chase, and the Hurt Syndicate title run was kind of just, it didn't end up well. I will say
they didn't pass. They didn't pass all 8 months of investment into the title. They didn't pass that credibility on to another tag team. And
no, and I will say personally, Griffin, I don't think they were necessarily booked in the best combinations either. I was at the Austin show when they wrestled the Guns on it. This was obviously back in February, and so Forbidden Door, to me, that was their best kind of match that they had as a tag team title contender. And it's always been weird. Everybody wants to obviously cheer them because they're the cool heels. And I personally, I think they should have said at the beginning of this year, they said, okay, we're baby faces now. I think if they would have made them the directive as baby faces, I think the run might have aged a little bit better. But I just think they paired them in kind of weird combinations. Them and the Outrunners was not a good pairing. I didn't think that was obviously not a great match.
I think their shadow's too big. Like for AEW, like these are one big single star and one pretty good top of the mid card single star, and like they just weren't competitive enough. Like there was like what tag team was going to beat them outside of FTR, but you don't want to build FTR. You need another team to build and invest in. I don't think the Outrunners are it. I think they're a fun mid card act, not a main event tag team act.
Yeah, and you can only do so many squashes, but I just feel like it would have been really cool for them to kind of lean into, like, there are a lot of smaller guys they could have, you wouldn't have paired them with the Bucks, but like I just feel like the crew was sitting there for them to kind of throw around and do cool flippy stuff with. And what was the other? Dustin Rhodes and Sammy, that was kind of like a weird one, and obviously doing the multi-tag stuff at All In. I would have rather them honestly wrestle Jet Speed, and then maybe you could have put Jet Speed over there, and I just didn't understand like the weird convoluted stuff that we kind of talked about a little bit. It's weird, but my hope at the end of the year, Griffin, we've actually got a tag team division again, because once upon a time this was AEW's bread and butter, where everybody kind of asked, why can't WWE have this? And there could be other things on the horizon. Maybe we've got Luchasaurus, and maybe we've got a Jungle Boy reunion coming back. And we've got obviously CNC floating around, FTR, Young Bucks, Gates of Agony, Outrunners. You've got a good variety.
I do like GOA's future.
Yes, indeed.
That's the one I would have built up to beat.
It's interesting because before we go more in the match, Derek Mitchell actually does have an interesting comment here. That it's very logical, Derek, that you pointed this out. I'm going to read Derek Mitchell's YouTube chat for our audio listeners here. Derek Mitchell said, why would the Hurt Syndicate, or Hurt Business, Hurt Syndicate be fearful of Ricochet and GOA? They punked out Ricochet plenty of times, and the Hurt Syndicate have squashed GOA in the tag team matches. it's a kind of a bad plot hole. Now, if GOA and Hurt Syndicate have not already like wrestled, I would have you can like have that illusion like what does that look like? But Hurt Syndicate, I believe, did beat them. Oh God, and maybe
Early, though.
in like 3 or 5 minutes prior.
Yeah.
So that kind of already messes up with that
Different tag,
illusion.
and it is a different tag team.
Mm-hmm.
Like under Ricochet's guidance, they're different wrestlers. They're
It's
coming
true.
out, they have different confidence. Like, you know, it's wrestling where
Yeah.
guys are, 3 months after they're champions, they're jobbers, and then 6 months later they're main eventers again. So you kind of have to accept that. But it goes back to AEW's lack of consistent storytelling with their characters. I mean, our Hurt Syndicate baby faces now, and what turned them babyface because they got beat
Right.
in their match, so now they're just good guys.
Mm-hmm.
The other things they've done don't matter because they got screwed over. Shouldn't we be happy that heel got screwed over? And again, these are not things that I think Tony thinks about. I just think he wants the matches to be really good, really entertaining, like get good reviews from people who review them, and work to the next match. But I just think it's so short-sighted because you're any business owner, if you only look at one aspect of your business will fail because there are so many different parts to running a business.
Yeah. But the chemistry from all four guys, Brody King, Bandito, Wheeler Yuta, and Claudio is exactly what you would think it is. Claudio and Brody King have fantastic chemistry from their C2 matches. They got in there and chopped the holy crap out of each other, like loud chops. Bandito doing his like superhero type stuff. Brodito went for a dive at some point. Claudio caught him in midair and killed him with a backbreaker. Yuta did it, Yuta channeling his inner Dom Mysterio. I think it's a great little role for him as a little like just a-hole. I'm glad he's finally found like a role because
Yeah.
he started his projection when he joined the original incarnation of Blackpool Comic Club was so high, and then he's kind of just
Then he
existed.
became like the freshman in the locker room that
Mm-hmm.
got picked on and hazed when they turned heel. I thought that was going to have him snap and be the guy that came out of this, and
Right.
they've lost
But
that.
but I enjoy this role.
Yeah.
As he's channeling his Dominic Mysterio role.
I like Wheeler Yuta. I think he's
Yes.
fantastic talent.
Yeah.
Him
I'm big.
and Daniel Garcia, I think, are two of the like true AEW guys that are young guys that I just think are future.
Mm-hmm. Agree. And let's see here. We had some FU Yuta chants. Brody King killed Yuta and Claudio with a double cannonball. Went for a cover, got a near fall. Let's see here. Brodito went for frog splash, crash and burn, and then all of a sudden, Marino, who was ringside, kind of interfered, distracted the official. Mox came down and killed. I believe it was. Let's see here. Brody King. He threw him in the ring post, and then a couple great near falls here. Yuta hit the fastball special, and Bandito kicked out. Darby eventually came and ran down and ran off Moxley. King absolutely killed Yuta with the forearm. Brodito hit the 21 plex, which I don't know if they did this on purpose or maybe they wanted to kind of take a break from the 450 monkey flipped after it didn't look so great on Forbidden Door. Griffin, am a huge fan of teams winning multiple ways. So that way you've got different variables of win, but just winning with a German suplex is just it's in my sensibility for sure.
Yeah, I've always liked the tag teams that had multiple finishers. My favorite as a kid was the Steiner brothers. They had the top rope bulldog. They had the Frankensteiner. They had different ways they'd beat you. So agreed there. Yeah, I agree. I think it was a fantastic match. All four of those guys are great. I'll take Brody and Claudio facing off in any carnation in any.
Just some of like still that first year one of C2, my favorite match. I think out of all of the C2 matches, I think I've watched. There was a match where him and Claudio just absolutely just clobbered each other. It was mean, tough, old guy, big guy wrestling. It was my jam. I
Claudio
loved it.
is in my top 5 to never hold a real world title. That's a missed opportunity because, man, when he was hot in WWE, man, that yeah, the fact that I didn't get that guy makes me sad.
I agree. Missed opportunity. Let's see. After the match, we had Renee backstage with Okada. Okada said he's the Rainmaker. Everybody knows it. He's the top dog of the Don Callis family, and basically called anybody else a bitch. That's it's Okada right now. I don't know what his plan is for All Out. Obviously, they're teasing dissension between him and Takesha, which is like, okay, yeah, let's. Takesha needs to be pushed to the moon. But I will be honest, Griffin, for someone that was, I wasn't let down by Omega and Okada. I feel like me personally, I just had realistic expectations and knew the match wasn't going to be this all timer. I felt like towards the end it was getting good, but then like the Don Callis stuff, it was just a little bit too much. Didn't really. I just these are guys at the time didn't need to go 35 minutes. The Okada kind of continental time frames, I really enjoy that because this version of Okada does not need to be going 30 minutes anymore. Like a nice little anywhere between 12 to 16 minutes. I think that's a perfect time for him. I actually had an absolute ball watching him and Speedball Mike Bailey at Double or Nothing. I felt like that was the best I've seen Okada look in ages because, there's this perception of Okada where, he's very selective when he wants to come out and like show like A game Okada just because he's so good. He knows he doesn't have to necessarily go 100% every night. He's like, okay, I'm going to go about 75% tonight. And, that's just my bag.
As somebody who, again, never watched a lot of New Japan, like when he comes out, he looks like a star when he comes out matches, but his promos are not star. Like nothing about his presentation other than his entrance and matches and protection of his finisher tell me he's a star. He's got the presence when he comes out for his entrance and wrestles the match, but yeah, his promos, they've done. I don't think they've really done much right with him in the way they've brought him in and used him.
Well, and especially since he's away, if he's from, he can't do the Bucks shtick if the Bucks are not there.
Yeah.
And if I'm not getting a Rainmaker Okada, I want a little depth to his character, kind of like we've said, why should I care about you? Like, yeah, you're a star. That's great. And when you want to show out, you will. But what else you got? What else you got? Show me a little bit more. Don't do like just say a phrase.
Yeah.
I feel like you're yeah, go ahead.
If they do tease dissension, I don't want it all out. That's too
No, fast. God, no. That's way too early.
But
do not.
If they tease the dissension and we get months down the road, even if it's all in next year, Takeshita beating Okada for that belt after that long of a protected reign would be.
It'll mean something.
A way to make Takeshita.
Yeah, it'll mean something. I've kept all my Takeshita stock. I knew he was going to be something when he had that match with Moxley on Rampage. That was great. For anybody who hasn't seen that, it's definitely up there for one of my favorite matches. Just to be there live, it's really really cool.
Ospreay's technical debut, wrestler. man, I was there at the Sting retirement, and they
Oof.
wrestled that night, and God, that was incredible.
I could only imagine what that looked like. All right, let's do a little admin here real quick, and we certainly appreciate everybody listening and such a lively chat tonight. Thank you everybody for participating. I'm trying to do my best to go through them, and we're getting close to the end of the just Dynamite, so I'll try to go through a lot of the remaining chats if I haven't already gone through them. Just a reminder, when you are watching Wade on YouTube and listening to the show, if you want to get involved any point in time when Wade is doing one of the post shows, please email Wade Keller at wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com. Again, please email Wade at wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com. And if you're not a VIP member, please consider supporting us in the show. We really appreciate it. And if you are on YouTube, please like the show, comment below, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate everybody's support. And always be on the lookout for Wade's detailed reports on tonight's episode and for SmackDown, Raw, and pay-per-views as well. We've got obviously a lot of stuff coming out in upcoming weeks and months. Like Griffin mentioned his work. I'll have some stuff coming up as well. And, we really, really appreciate everybody's support as always. Let's see here. Let me go through one more thing. And I think we're good there. Our VIP members, just in case. All right. So, Griffin, I think we're getting close to the end of the show here. After Okada was backstage with Renee, the show returned with Renee actually, I'm hoping Renee's working, getting paid double for everything she's doing on a daily basis. Renee was actually in the back outside with the Hurt Syndicate. Basically, they accepted the Ricochet challenge for All Out, which if this is the only kind of like trios match added to the card, I would hope so, because let's make these multi-person matches stand out rather than adding multi-person matches on top of multi-person matches. I like this. If they don't overindulge, I think this could be very, very good. Very strong promo from MVP. Like you had mentioned, Griffin, MVP's only got so many more matches in him. He hasn't wrestled. I think he's only. I want to say he's only wrestled maybe in AEW like 2 or 3 times, if that.
I couldn't tell you more than once.
Yeah, he's not very. So, and again, all 3 men are units. It's amazing how they get older and they're older, but somehow they're getting younger and they look better every time, every year. It's just it's quite incredible how they age. Good for them. And to continue the chaos and theme of the show, it was advertised Cope and Cage were going to be, we were going to hear from them. So Cope came to the ring. He was very, very nice to some kids, did some high fives, and then he was immediately jumped by FTR. Cage did eventually come down to even the odds. Good brawl. Security separated the teams eventually. Dax somehow got busted open. That's always fun. Good visual. And eventually security we had to get more than security to come out. And there was people from the ROH locker room that came about. And then we had the introduction of, I believe it was, let's see here, Brian Priest from ROH. He had recently wrestled with JD Drake last week with on Collision against FTR. Obviously, FTR won. No shock there. But basically, and then the crowd was saying, let's go Priest, which, in the arena, cute. And then following that, FTR and Stoke was back. They were trying to cut a promo backstage, and they saw Priest, and they said, oh, just because you've been on TV for 1 week, you think you're famous now. So if you want to get famous, find a tag team partner for Collision, and we'll see what happens. So, yeah, again, you're promoting stuff ahead of time. This is obviously, even though this is a very obvious win for FTR, for my sensibilities, Griffin, I don't care. I love FTR, especially the heel FTR. To me, it's I feel like the babyface FTR ran its course with months ahead of time. This version of FTR has been great. If you haven't seen it, I still to this day I think my favorite AEW TV match of the year is FTR versus the Outrunners on Collision. Fantastic. I wish they wouldn't have tried to run this back at All In for the pre-show because it was never going to touch that. Best match of Outrunners career by miles, I would say. And it was just interesting, the psychology. It would be something I think you would really enjoy, Griffin, because it wasn't what you would expect. It was
tag team.
It had Smoky Mountain like kind of a feel, a flair, and I think it only went like 16 minutes. It was great, like absolutely good stuff. All right, let's run through some of the chat here before
I do like, when it comes to storytelling, I feel like, they rushed getting Cope and Christian back together.
Oh yeah, of course. I 100% agree.
But I can forgive it a little bit. The guys are the age that they're at. He's already had an injury that kept him off the shelf. He has certain stories he wants to tell at the end of his career, so I can forgive that. The touch that I do like that you can tell that's Copeland and Christian is like, why should we be cheering Christian? He was terrible. He was ridiculous.
Yes.
And we should be happy. Like, that should have been a babyface turn by Nick Wayne that he beat Christian down. Like, Christian was awful to them, and they stood up for themselves. Other than the fact that it was all of them on one, it was a babyface turn. But what I love is Christian is not fully embracing being Copeland. Like, he didn't hug him back. He comes out a little bit later, but he's still a man of his word. Who said he'd be there for him against.
Like it says on the Tron, Griffin. He's an asshole.
Yeah, but he's Cope's asshole.
Yes, they're leaning into it. I really enjoyed that, and honestly, for my sensibilities, Griffin, I feel like this is the role for Adam Copeland moving forward for the rest of his career. Honestly, and I had an absolute blast. Over delivery that opener that they had with Kip Sabian and Luchasaurus on Forbidden Door.
So good.
I was just surprised.
Story in the match too, not just the move.
Yes. I was blown away, and it wasn't anything like convoluted or crazy. Although like Cope did a couple things that like I was like, holy crap, you still got that in you. And these types of matches, they're going to be slowed down.
Yes.
And I love Cope, but he does not need to be going 35 minutes over in a match. Never again. No.
But if you listen, so like Nick Nemeth and Bully Ray were talking on Busted Radio the other day, and I loved it because Nick, Dolph Ziggler, he was talking about how he'd go out and he would do all these moves, all this selling, get the crowd going, and he'd go backstage and he'd go, follow that. And then he's like, I'd watch Hunter and, whoever go out there, and they started with a test of strength, and the whole crowd was like on the edge of their seats for a test of strength. He goes, I get it now. You got to get to the point where you're so over, you don't need these moves to control the crowd.
Right.
And Cope's there. Cope does not need to be jumping off the top of a cage through a table and breaking a leg. Don't do that. We love you. We respect you. You did that. Don't do it again. We want to enjoy you, not you be on the shelf.
Yes. Absolutely. Copeland actually kind of taking a lot of the heat on these matches. I think it's a good format. And then, they're brilliant. They're both really, they're
brilliant minds. And you can tell this is not just Tony writing.
This is them.
This is them with control.
Yes. Like, and the great thing is,
again, respect to Tony.
Yeah.
All the respect in the world to Tony. I love that he started the promotion. I love that there's places for these people to work. But man, come on, story, man, tighten it up.
Yeah, I will say I'm thrilled that they're not wrestling for the tag titles. I thank you for that, because to me, if FTR would have just won just to be in that position, I think it would have just made everything a little bit hollow. I know we had already kind of discussed the tag team title situation.
Retirement. I mean, that's exactly what they did. Throw the title on the Young Bucks so they can lose to Sting and Darby, so they can retire with the belts.
Yes.
No, they lost them to Sting and Darby so they could defend them in that tag match. Get my history right there, but don't need to be called out those comments. I already brought Tito Santana back to wrestling, so
right. But and the thing with their match, the tag titles were never going to be the draw. The draw is Christian and Copeland have not wrestled together in over, I think it's over a decade. I think it's like 12 to 13 years or something like that.
Example of you don't need the titles.
Yes, absolutely.
If you hear Bruce Pritchard talk about why Piper and DiBiase never had the world titles, they didn't need them. They were huge, massive stars without the title. Use the title to get somebody over that's not a huge, massive star. I think that's much better that it's just a legacy match.
Yes. Let's see. Run through some of the chat here. Okay.
For audio stories, you don't always have to have belts to have stories.
Yes. Absolutely. The title belts is it's a crutch if that's like the apex to use as your kind of match storyline. Yep. Let's see. Derek Mitchell in the chat for our audio listener says Okada said everybody knows Okada is the top dog. Don Callis family called Takeshita a bitch. Could you let it play out a little bit more before Okada called Takeshita a bitch? I mean,
he calls everybody.
I think it's dick. I don't know if it's like it's they're obviously teasing. That's the way they're doing it. I don't think they're gonna obviously rush anything for All Out. I mean, because it's literally 2 weeks notice. You've got some time. I would rather them just tease it out, because obviously Chad did mention did notice the absence of Wardlow tonight, Griffin from the Don Callis family, which is that's an odd pairing.
You just added him, so like
hopefully he's okay. I mean, it just you never know. I don't ever want to like wreck spec at all. So maybe
the best thing he ever did was get that man bun cut off, and now it's back. So.
Yeah, it's an odd pairing, Wardlow and the Don Callis family, Griffin. But I'm rooting for the guy. I want something to happen. I'm surprised that he could have been somebody destined for WWE potentially. I want him to still work out in AEW, because he's one of the few people that, like, in the entire company, they've kind of done vignettes for to introduce a character that, like, AEW sparingly has ever done that in the history of the company. He was like the first one they did, and it was kind of weird how you were kind of watching like a James Bond, like Fast and Furious kind of movie commercial for a guy, and we didn't really know what was going on. And obviously the pairing with him and MJF was perfect, and it was magic, and then it kind of wasn't. And then he's kind of been all over the map. Stuff hasn't worked, injured, so maybe Don Callis can sprinkle some Don Callis stuff on him, and maybe like him just being a heavy could be different. It just, I don't know. I've always been a fan of the way Wardlow works. It's just like
very start stop story of it, and I don't know that that's all fault of Wardlow, but I'm sure there's stories behind the scenes there as to why.
Let's see, Derek Mitchell.
Weirder preview segments though. Wardlow's James Bond, or Desperado as a Hispanic, or the band? No, Bandito. saloons, like the Western Saloon Hispanic shootout things that he has.
I kind of...
They're fun.
Yes.
Part of me thinks they're fun, and part of me sees them as like WCW mini movie era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, I almost kind of want to believe Bandito's stuff a little bit more. I know the first one they kind of did was...
Throw that in Lucha Underground, and I love it.
Yes. Now, I will say the one they did with Hechicero for the ROH preview, that was actually really, really cool. Kind of like the first thing they did to reintroduce him was kind of goofy. But I will say they kind of fixed it a little bit for the ROH title match for sure. Let's see. Derek Mitchell also says in the chat for our audio listeners, yes, they rushed Cope and Christian reunion. It felt forced to get the reaction for All Out match in Toronto. I think I'd even mentioned through Wade for the longest time. I just assumed the destination was always going to be FTR and Cope and Christian at All In, honestly. But
that was apparently
yes.
Christian wanted to finish out. Like, as rushed as it is, imagine how much more rushed it could be.
Yeah, and I just thought you could have started telling that story in March.
Yeah.
Or just, things happen, and you got to just... plans change, rather, unfortunately. Let's see. Derek Mitchell also says in the chat for our audio listeners, Wardlow should be by Don Callis' side at all times. He has tied Hobbs for being in the most factions in AEW, Pinnacle, Inner Circle, MGF, Undisputed Kingdom, and now the Don Callis family. Yeah, it's interesting. I thought maybe there was like these teases of the Pinnacle maybe coming back, and just, because it's wrestling, you're always going to pepper in things that kind of leave, breadcrumbs. I thought there was also like a possibility of, I thought MJF was originally going to not join the Hurt Syndicate, but join the, recreate the Pinnacle and try to run that back. I wouldn't have hated that. That would have been, honestly, if they were going to bring Wardlow back for anything, if they wanted to kind of just reintroduce him as a heavy, I'd have been completely okay with that, because you know what? It worked. It was gold for a while. That's how Wardlow got over. But we shall see, Griffin. So our main event was the All-Star Tag of the Don Callis family, which represented... This was Josh Alexander, Kyle Fletcher, and we also had the Young Bucks versus Jet Speed and the reunited babyface team of Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. Omega looked a little bit better. I've been worried about Omega for a little bit, Griffin, I'll be honest. He just looks thrashed, honestly. I don't know what's wrong. I think he's looked kind of rough since All In.
I think he's admitted to being on the very downhill side of his career. He feels it, and he's worked a long time and a very aggressive style.
You know what? If he kind of wanted to mature and kind of go in that Danielson role, if he wants to kind of just pop up whenever he feels like, I think that's completely fine. Obviously he's come back through a lot of stuff. I mean, I couldn't imagine trying to come back from, the amount of surgeries and everything he's tried to come back from. That's a lot. But, I thought this was the best he's looked in quite some time. I know the moniker of the All-Star Tag is overdone quite a bit, but I felt like this was the first time I felt like the moniker actually deserved the name. This, to me, was the All-Star Tag.
I don't know. I love Speedball Mike Bailey. I like Jet Speed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I would call them All-Star.
I would say Page and Omega have enough they have enough star dust to kind of sprinkle off them with the Young Bucks, Fletcher, and then Alexander. The match went 20 minutes. I mean, shocker, it was great.
I'll always put over Josh Alexander too. I loved his run in TNA as champion. I thought him versus Ospreay in TNA was one of the best matches I've ever watched, and doesn't get enough love. But yeah.
And you know, the Young Bucks look great. Of course, ever since they've been back, I think they look really, really in the mood. They look invigorated. I don't know if that's a more creative flair based on this gimmick they're doing, but
I think the Young Bucks is probably the best thing going in AEW right now. I love what they're doing with the Bucks and how they set and coming up with a new way to torture them every week is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good bit. Excellent bit. I will be honest. I was honestly surprised the heels went over in the main event. Griffin was really surprised by that. And Kyle Fletcher, of all people, got the pin. And super, super surprised by that. I'm just like shocked. The heels win, which led into the post-match beatdown where the Jets brawled with the Bucks. They left, and basically the Don Callis family came down, basically killed Hangman and Omega. Fletcher killed Hangman with the chair. That looked gnarly, and the table bump to end the show actually looked great. I think that was actually a great visual. Omega looked dead.
I'm afraid for Fletcher's arm.
Yeah, that looked gnarly on the cut.
A similar cut on Hardcore Holly that severed a nerve on him and really damaged. That was in his back. This was on Fletcher's arm. But, I mean, when you go through those tables and a splinter hits you the wrong spot, man, it's a lot more dangerous than we think about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, hopefully he's all right. And it sets up kind of an interesting kind of situation for the rest of the residency, and what's the direction for Hangman Page. Some people were thinking, oh, could you do Omega and Hangman? Obviously it looks like ... Hangman could be wrestling somebody in the Don Callis family. If there's not necessarily a direction for Fletcher, if you want to just have like
Fletcher was the one that gave him the brain buster through the chair, and this was definitely something I wanted to talk about and had it because we're rushing things again. Like Fletcher has a story with
Briscoe.
Like, let him be dominant in that story. Tell that story. If you have a story with Hangman, then let's tell that story later, and probably preferably past his TNT title run. Like, make that title matter. Like, he shouldn't be after the world champion because he's got his title that he's defending and he's creating his legacy off of that title. Like, that should matter. And for him to be involved with Hangman, again, it's just too many belts. Then you have people interacting, and now this title doesn't matter because this title matters more. And this just seemed rushed and messy. And if you're going to do this, like, beat down of your world champion and his longtime good friend, like a serious beat down, you should have had Wardlow there be part of it if he's part of the family.
Yeah.
Like, he should have been part of that. He should have been in the recap packages that they should be showing from this. Should have Wardlow. But yeah, I just think if you have the TNT title, that should be your story. You're defending your TNT championship and you're making your legacy, not like, now I'm involved with the world champion too. Especially when you've got such a deep roster, and here we are with Bandito and Fletcher, and we're telling two stories where we could be telling a story with somebody that's not being used, who's fantastic. I mean, not in this role because it's not the right role for him, but damn it, I'm a huge Danhausen fan. Like, he's under contract, and there's dozens of people like that they're under contract, not utilized, and then you've got these guys that you're telling multiple stories with that aren't even focused stories because you're it's frustrating.
Yeah, a lot going on. Like you said, what's the direction with Fletcher? I didn't think they would do Fletcher and Briscoe at All Out, because I just feel like there's business with MJF and Briscoe to be told still. I don't know if that's the direction, because he'll be wrestling in CMLL the night before, especially with the time difference. Is he going to be able to get there in time? Who knows? A lot of different stuff up in the air. Now you're formatting a card ahead of time, which is great. There's still like a lot. Hangman should he's like your guy.
Yeah.
Me and you should have already been like, we should have been able to identify at the end of the night. Okay, Hangman Page is wrestling.
What's their
Takeshita.
A story? And their A story for All Out right now is Darby Allin.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. Him and Moxley. I think that's probably
the A story.
That's the A story. Yep, I agree.
But it should be your champion.
Yeah.
And is it Moxley, or is it going to be Gabe Kidd? Is it going to be Gabe Kidd next week and then Moxley? Is Gabe Kidd dead?
Yeah, is he dead?
He's in a body bag and dragged by a truck. He may be dead.
Yes. Who knows? Well, we've gone a little long, and I'm surprised we went as long as we did, Griffin. On a show. Like, again, I would say overall show, I don't think there was a lot of seismic change on the show as far as like stories. There was definitely developments, but show overall very easy breezy. Went fast.
Yeah, I think it's
thumbs up.
Yeah.
For me.
Darby, Edge, Christian, the beatdown angles, or Cope and Christian, always going to be odd to say. And you know, I say a minor story with Hook, and where are they going with him?
Yeah, and the continued success of Mercedes Moné and her and Riho at All Out. All Out developments.
Fun match.
Yeah, All Out developments are
Battle of the tiny frames. I'm always those are the two women I'm always scared to watch in matches, because I'm like, you're so small. How do you not die in every
match? It'll be interesting pairing for sure. But we've gone long. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you, Wade, for letting me fill in. I really appreciate everybody being so patient with me in the chat. Like I said, you guys were awesome tonight. Probably the most chats I've ever gotten on a YouTube stream. So thank you so much. You're very kind, patient. Thank you so much for watching on YouTube, and for audio listeners, thank you so much. Again, Wade should be back next week with no problem. We're just filling in, this week. But thank you so much again for your support, and we will see you next time.